The wind cut through her skin like knives. Snowflakes landed on her silver hair, melting instantly from the heat of her body. But she wasn't warm. She hadn't been warm in 10 years. Her name was Lyra. She walked alone, her feet bare, her cloak torn, her arms hugging her thin body. Nights like these reminded her of the prison camps, the dark holes, the silence after screams. But those were memories she didn't want anymore. Lyra looked up. There, far ahead, hidden between tall black trees, a soft light, yellow, flickering. A fire? A cabin? She stumbled forward, each step heavier than the last. Her body screamed to stop. But the promise of warmth, of shelter, pushed her forward. She didn't know who lived there. Didn't care. She just needed one night. Just one night where the wind didn't hurt and the floor wasn't ice. As she reached the wooden door, she paused. Her heart raced. Her fingers trembled as she knocked. Once, twice. Silence. She waited. Then the door creaked open. A man stood there. Human. Tall, broad shoulders, thick beard, sharp eyes. His hand rested on a shotgun, but he didn't point it. Just stared at her, suspicious, quiet. Lyra tried to speak, but her voice cracked. She looked up at him, her eyes glassy. "Please," she whispered. "Just one night, in your warm bed." The man didn't move. His eyes scanned her head to toe. He saw the cuts, the dirt, the pain she carried. But he also saw something else. Fear and strength. He didn't ask questions. He stepped aside. Lyra's knees nearly gave out as she entered. Heat wrapped around her like a soft blanket. A real fire burned in the fireplace. She closed her eyes, just for a second, to feel. She didn't notice the human locking the door behind her. He walked past her without a word, grabbed a folded blanket from the shelf and tossed it to her. "Sit," he said simply. She sat near the fire, pulling the blanket close. The man didn't speak. He sat on a chair across the room, watching her, still cautious, still holding the shotgun loosely. "You got a name?" he asked after a long silence. "Lyra." He nodded once. "I'm John." Another pause. Lyra looked around. The cabin was small but warm, a bed in the corner, a small table, a kitchen with metal cans stacked neatly, tools, boots, a coat. He lived here alone. John studied her quietly. "Why are you out there alone?" She looked down. "Long story." "I've got time." Lyra shook her head. "If I tell you, you might send me back." "Back where?" She didn't answer. John leaned back in his chair. "You're not the first to knock on that door, but you are the first to beg for my bed." She turned her face toward the fire, hiding her eyes. "I didn't mean, I meant warmth. I haven't slept indoors in 10 years. He said nothing. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, the silence was heavy. After a while, John stood and walked to the kitchen. He opened a can, poured the contents into a metal bowl, and placed it near the fire. Some kind of soup. Thick and hot. He handed it to her. Lyra blinked. "Why? You look like you'll collapse any minute." She took the bowl slowly. "Thank you." As she ate, her hands shook. John sat back down. "What are you running from?" Lyra looked up, her voice low. "My past. My people. My queen. Your queen. She called me a traitor. I loved the wrong person. Broke their rules. Now they hunt me. And you thought a human cabin in the middle of nowhere would save you? I didn't expect to survive the night." She looked at him. "But I saw your light, and I hoped." For the first time, John's expression softened. He looked away, then finally stood up and walked toward the bed. "You can sleep there tonight," he said. "I'll take the chair." Lyra's eyes widened. "Why are you helping me?" John paused. "Because maybe you deserve at least one night where you don't feel hunted." He grabbed a blanket and turned his back to her. Lyra stood slowly, walking to the bed as if afraid it might vanish. She lay down, and for the first time in 10 years, she felt safe, But just as her eyes closed, a sound outside. Footsteps. Then a voice. "Open the door. We know she's in there." John stood up fast, grabbing his shotgun. He looked at Lyra. She was already sitting up, her face pale. "They found me," she whispered. John loaded the gun and said just one word. "Stay down." Asterisk. The knock echoed again. "Open the door, or we burn it down." John's grip on the shotgun tightened. He didn't move toward the door. He didn't blink. Just stood still, eyes fixed on the wooden barrier between them and danger. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. She slid off the bed silently and crouched behind the stone wall near the fireplace. Her fingers curled into the floor. "Don't answer," she whispered. John gave her a single nod. Then without a word, he moved to the side window, quiet as a ghost. He peeked through the curtain. 3 figures. Dark suits. Tall. Pale skin, glowing faintly blue under the moonlight. Not human. One of them held a plasma blade. Aliens. Not just bounty hunters. Royal enforcers. John pulled back from the window and looked at Lyra. "They're here for you." She nodded. "I'll deal with them," he said. "No," she hissed. "You can't fight them. Not with bullets." He raised a brow. "Then what do you suggest? Invite them in for tea?" She paused. He didn't look scared. That confused her. Most humans, if they knew what the enforcers were, would be running by now. Or already handing her over. But John just turned, walked to the fireplace, and picked up a small switch hidden behind the stone. He flipped it. With a soft hum, the walls shimmered faintly. A hidden barrier activated. A defense field. Lyra's eyes widened. "You're not just a hunter, are you?" John didn't answer. The enforcers outside pounded again. Final warning. He walked to the door and called out, voice deep and clear, "Wrong cabin." A pause. Then a voice replied, "You're harboring a Class 5 fugitive. Give her up, or suffer the law of the Outer Crown." John looked at Lyra again. "You really pissed off someone important." She looked away. "I fell in love with her brother." He blinked. "The Queen's brother? She ordered my execution. I escaped. For 10 years, I've been running." John took a breath, then opened a hidden panel near the fireplace and pulled out something unexpected. A pulse rifle. Human tech. Mixed with alien parts. Lyra stared at it. "Where did you get that?" "I've lived many lives," he said simply. "Not all of them legal." He handed her a second weapon, a small, stun dagger. She took it. Slowly, her hand steadied. Then something shifted in her eyes. She wasn't just a scared fugitive anymore. She was a fighter. One that had been hiding her claws for too long. Outside, one of the enforcers shouted, "Time's up." Suddenly, boom, the front door exploded inward. Smoke. Light. Sparks. John fired first. A plasma bolt slammed into the chest of the first enforcer, throwing him backward into the snow. The other 2 scattered, dodging fast. Lyra moved like lightning, diving to the side, flipping a chair to block the window, then slashing at the second enforcer who tried to climb through. The cabin became a war zone in seconds. Wood shattered. Sparks flew. Heat blasted the air. John and Lyra fought side by side. Wordless. Perfect rhythm. One human. One hunted alien. Together. Finally, the last enforcer fell stunned, not dead. Breathing. Hard. John slammed the door shut again, reinforced it with a metal bar. Silence. Smoke curled through the air. Lyra leaned against the wall, blood on her cheek. John sat on the floor, wiping soot from his face. "That was a lot for one night," he muttered. She laughed. "Just a little. I told you not to open the door." He looked at her. "And you said you just wanted warmth." "I did. You brought a war instead." She smiled, tired. "That's been my life for 10 years. He stood slowly and offered her a hand. She took it. Together, they cleaned the cabin in silence. Repaired what they could. Dragged the stunned enforcers out and locked them in the shed. When it was all over, The fire was low, but still burning. They sat near it again. Lyra spoke quietly. "No one's ever fought for me before." John didn't answer. She looked at him. "Why did you help me?" He shrugged. "Maybe I hate the cold too." She stared at him. "You could have turned me in, made a deal. I'm not a man who makes deals with monsters." A long silence followed. Then she said softly, "I'm tired." He nodded to the bed. "It's still yours." She stood, slowly. Walked to the bed. This time, she didn't ask for permission. She laid down, pulling the blanket over her body. Her eyes half closed. Then she whispered, "Thank you." John stared at the fire. His voice came low. "Sleep, Lyra. But be ready." "Ready for what?" she asked. He didn't look at her. "They'll be back." Morning came quiet. No alarms. No shouting. Just the soft sound of wind brushing against the cabin walls. Snowflakes drifted outside the window like silent ghosts. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Warm blanket. Fire crackling. She wasn't running. Not yet. Then she remembered the enforcers. She sat up fast, but John was already awake, sitting by the window, watching the woods. The shotgun rested across his lap. He hadn't slept. Did they wake up? She asked. He nodded. "Tried breaking out of the shed an hour ago. I reinforced it." Lyra stood, stretched. Her body ached, but it was a familiar pain. Survivable. John didn't turn to her. "They sent scouts." "Not the full hunt." She walked closer. "More will come." "I know." Silence filled the room like fog. Finally, he asked, "Why are they hunting you so hard? What did you do?" Lyra looked at the fire, not ready to answer. John turned his head. "You said it was because of love. But people don't send kill teams." "For heartbreak." She gave a sad smile. "You ever hear of the Crown of Velithus?" "No. It's a royal bloodline." "My bloodline. I was second daughter to Queen Sarian." John froze. "Your royalty?" "Was, not anymore." She walked slowly toward the fireplace, crouching beside it. "I didn't want power. I didn't want war. I wanted a quiet life. With someone I chose." John listened without interrupting. His name was Cale. He was a soldier. Human. Like you. Kind, brave. She looked up. "My mother found out. She called it treason." Sighed. "I had corrupted royal blood. What happened to him?" "They took him." Her voice cracked. "I never saw him again." John looked at her, eyes darker now. "That's why you ran." She nodded. "For 10 years, I moved from planet to planet, hiding, watching, hoping I'd find him. Or at least, not die alone." John leaned back in his chair. "That explains why the bounty on your head is galaxy-wide." Lyra smiled bitterly. "Did you check my file?" He nodded. "After the fight, I wanted to know who I was protecting. And didn't change my mind." She blinked. "Even after you saw the bounty amount?" "I'm not for sale." Something in her chest softened. She hadn't trusted anyone in a decade. But this man, he didn't flinch, even when her whole past knocked on his door with weapons. John stood. "We have maybe 1 or 2 days before they send more. We need a plan." Lyra walked to the map pinned on the wall. "There's an old signal tower on the ridge. I can send a burst message from there. It's encrypted. Might reach an old ally." John frowned. "Might? I have no guarantees left, only chances." Suddenly, bang. The shed door exploded. Outward. Both of them spun, weapons ready. One enforcer stumbled out, coughing, half blind, sparks dancing from his armor. He wasn't attacking. He was running. Lyra raised her dagger, but John stopped her. "Let him go." "What? Why?" "Look." The enforcer fell to his knees, then collapsed. Smoke poured from the back of his suit. A mark glowed on his neck. Pulsing red. Lyra rushed over, checking it. Her face went pale. "Dead man's seal. My mother marked him. If he failed, he'd die automatically. John's jaw clenched. Cold. She doesn't allow failure. Suddenly, a sharp beep echoed from the forest. Edge. John's eyes narrowed. Drone. He fired once. Boom. The small machine exploded midair. Too late. They have our location. Lyra said. We need to move. Tonight. She nodded, but her face stayed tense. What is it? He asked. She looked at him, voice low. I'm tired. Of running. John stepped closer. Then fight. I have no army. You have me. She stared at him. He meant it. Really meant it. One man, one cabin. Against a queen's wrath. And yet, for the first time she believed she might survive. But the shadows outside were growing longer, and her past was getting closer. Asterisk night fell heavy and fast. Dark clouds rolled in, hiding the moon. Snow began to fall harder, but it wasn't quiet anymore. The wind carried the hum of engines. The forest, once still, now trembled with movement. Inside the cabin, Lyra checked her dagger again and again. Her fingers shook, not from fear, but from something else. This place had started to feel safe, but safety was a lie. John stood by the door, loading his pulse rifle. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. He moved like a man who had been through too many wars and survived all of them. Tracker drone gave away our position. He said, that wasn't the scout, that was bait. How many will come? Lyra asked. John didn't look at her. All of them. She swallowed. We should run. John finally turned, eyes meeting hers. No, we hold here. We make them pay. Lyra stepped closer, whispering, this cabin won't survive a siege. It's not supposed to. She froze. What do you mean? John pulled a small device from his coat, a detonator. Her eyes widened. You rigged the cabin? Not all of it, just the outside perimeter. Enough to slow them down. Slow them down for what? He stepped forward, his voice low. So you can get away? No. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do, she snapped. I'm done leaving people behind. I'm not running while you die for me. John stared at her for a long moment. Then, finally, a small smirk tugged at the corner of his mouth. Good, he said. Because I don't plan on dying either. Outside, they heard it. The unmistakable hiss of landing ships. Multiple. John glanced at the window. Lyra was already moving, grabbing gear, packing the thermal pack, loading her blaster. Back entrance, she said. We'll set the charges and make them think we ran. John handed her a small metal capsule. Smoke flare. Once we're out, toss it. It'll scramble their heat sensors. She nodded. Then paused. Why are you doing this? She asked. You don't even know me. He looked at her. I know what it's like to be hunted. She didn't ask anything else. They moved fast. Out the back, into the trees. Cold air bit at their faces, but they didn't stop. Behind them, the cabin stayed silent. Until boom. The ground shook. Flames lit the sky. The front of the cabin exploded as the enforcers stormed in. Screams followed, short and sharp. John and Lyra ducked behind a ridge, watching the chaos. She whispered, how many did we get? John looked through the scope. 5, maybe 6. More are coming. I know. They moved through the snow, keeping low, zigzagging between trees. Suddenly, a sharp sound. Something fast of a UAZ. A bolt of energy shot past them, hitting a tree. Lyra spun, firing back. Her shot hit a drone, sending it spiraling into the ground. John pulled her behind cover. They've got air eyes now. She touched her ear. I can try a signal burst. Get it to bounce through the trees. Do it. She activated her device. Lights blinked. Frequencies shifted. John covered her, scanning the treetops. Then her device pinged once. Signal sent, she said. If anyone out there still cares, they'll come. John didn't answer, because footsteps were getting closer. Lyra looked at him, voice shaking now. Why do they keep coming? I'm not even a threat anymore. He looked her in the eyes. You are. She frowned. What? You're the daughter who said no. The one who disobeyed. That makes you dangerous. Not because of what you've done, but because of what you still could do. Inspire others. Exactly. The trees suddenly lit up with blaster fire. They dropped to the ground as more enforcers closed in. John fired back, covering Lyra as she moved toward a rocky outcrop. She spun, launching the smoke flare. The air filled with thick gray mist. Blasters missed their targets. Confused shouting followed. John and Lyra ran. Again, heartbeats pounding. They didn't stop until they reached the frozen river. Breathless, Lyra turned to him. That was everything we had. John looked back toward the burning glow of the cabin. Far behind them, that cabin was never home. She stepped closer. Then what was it? He looked at her, finally showing something soft beneath all the steel. A hiding place. For me, Lyra nodded slowly. And now? He took her hand. Now. We stop hiding. The storm hit harder than expected. Snow came fast, thick, and blinding. The trees groaned under the weight. The world turned white. John pulled Lyra along a narrow path that wound between jagged cliffs. Their boots crunched over ice. Behind them, the glow of the burning cabin was gone, swallowed by distance and snow. They didn't speak. They couldn't. Their breath steamed in the cold. Their limbs moved slowly, drained. Then, John stopped. He turned his head, searching. Then he saw it partially, hidden behind overgrowth and a frozen bush. A black gap in the rock. A cave. Here, he said. Lyra followed without question. Inside, it was narrow at first. Then it opened up into a space just large enough for two people to sit, maybe lie down. Old mining lights hung dead on the walls. Long forgotten. John pulled out a glow rod and cracked it. Soft blue light filled the space. Lyra collapsed onto the ground, letting out a long shaking breath. This ... is the first place that hasn't felt like a trap in years. John didn't sit. He stood near the entrance, watching, listening. We can rest for a few hours, he said. Will they find us? He shook his head. Storms covering our trail. Heat sensors won't see through the mountain. Lyra leaned back, letting the glow warm her face. Then for once, I can breathe. She closed her eyes. John finally sat down across from her. He watched her silently. Minutes passed. The wind outside howled. Inside, only silence. Then, her voice broke it. Back when I lived in the palace, I used to sneak into the sunroom just to feel warm glass on my skin. He raised an eyebrow. Seems strange now. I had everything. Gold, silk, servants. But all I wanted was sunlight. Why'd you run, really? He asked, just for love? She opened her eyes, slowly. No, I ran. Because I was afraid I'd become like her. My mother, cold, powerful, alone. John leaned back. Too late for that last one. She laughed softly. Maybe, but not tonight. The fire in her eyes had dimmed. Not gone, just tired. John tossed her a ration bar. Eat. She took it, bit slowly. Then asked, what about you? You never said why you live in the middle of nowhere, with traps, shields, and enough firepower to take down a dropship. He didn't answer right away. I used to be a soldier, he finally said. But I didn't like who I became. She nodded slowly. So you hid? Something like that. From what? From myself. Lyra leaned her head back against the stone wall. Guess we're not that different. John stood and looked outside for a long time. Then, quietly, he asked, do you think they'll come for you again? She didn't hesitate. Yes. He turned back to her. Then you'll need help. You already gave me more help than anyone has. Not enough. She looked at him, confused. What do you mean? John walked to the far side of the cave and opened a hidden crate. Inside gear. Real gear, not scraps, encrypted communicator. Tactical armor, 2 energy blades. A tracker jammer. Lyra stood slowly. This isn't a cabin stash. No, he said. This is from a time before the cabin. She stepped closer, eyes on the weapons. You were Black Signal. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Everyone knew Black Signal. Ghost unit. Off record. Deadly. You're supposed to be dead, she whispered. He looked her in the eyes. I was. She stepped back, stunned. Why would someone like you help someone like me? He stepped forward. You're the first person in 10 years who made me feel alive again. The words hung in the cold cave like breath. Lyra didn't know what to say, so she said nothing. Instead, she lay down on the floor, curling up with the blanket he gave her earlier. He sat nearby, rifle across his lap, for a while. They didn't speak. Then Lyra whispered something so soft, he almost missed it. I don't want this night to end. John didn't look at her. But he answered, then sleep. Outside, the storm kept howling. But inside that small cave, something warmer than fire finally returned to both of them. Call on peace. The next morning, the wind was gone. Too quiet. John woke first. Years of instinct screamed at him. The stillness wasn't right. Lyra was still asleep, curled in the blanket, her breathing slow, peaceful. For a moment, he just watched her. She didn't look like a fugitive now. She looked like someone who had finally found rest. He stood, moved silently to the mouth of the cave, and scanned the tree line. Nothing. No movement. No ships. No sound. Then he saw it. Not above. Below. A faint shimmer on the snow. A ripple, like heat rising from ice. A cloaked ship. It wasn't just any ship. Royal insignia. Black crest, golden wings. The queen was here. John turned fast. Lyra, wake up. Now. She sat up instantly, grabbing her gear. What is it? He pointed. Cloaked royal carrier. 50 meters downhill. Her face turned pale. She came. Herself, Lyra said. John nodded. She wants to end it personally. Lyra stood slowly, fingers tightening around her blade. Then let her. Before John could speak, a voice echoed across the forest, deep, sharp, and commanding. Lyra of Velithus, come down, unarmed. Alone. Speak with your blood. John cursed under his breath. She's using a direct mind link. She knows we're both in there. Lyra looked at him. She won't attack yet. Not until she tries to control me first. John shook his head. You go down there alone. She kill you. Not right away, Lyra said, her voice steady. Not in front of you. She want to humiliate me first. Show me I was wrong. She's not going to win. Lyra smiled weakly. John. She's already won. I've been running for 10 years. Then let's stop running, he said. We face her together. But Lyra placed her hand on his chest, stopping him. No, you fought enough for me. If this ends today, it ends with me. Before he could stop her, she stepped out of the cave and walked into the clearing. John followed, but stayed at a distance, hidden between trees. The snow crunched under Lyra's boots. Then, with a shimmer of light, the cloaked ship became visible. Its doors hissed open, and there, stepping out in tall silver armor, her cloak billowing behind her, stood Queen Sarion. Tall, regal, eyes like frost. No age on her face, but time in her voice. She raised a hand. The guards behind her didn't move. No weapons drawn. Lyra stopped 10 feet away. No words yet. Just silence between mother and daughter. Then, Sarion spoke. You look thin. Lyra's jaw clenched. You always start with insults. Sarion tilted her head. I expected you to die in the pits, or during exile. But you disappoint even in survival. Lyra said nothing. You ran for 10 years. For what? A boy? A human? Lyra's eyes narrowed. For freedom. The queen stepped closer. And now? I hear you've taken up with another human. Another pet to hide behind? John's finger tightened around the trigger as he watched from cover. Sarian smiled coldly. I'm not here to kill you, Lyra. Lyra raised a brow. No, no. The Queen said, I'm here to offer you a deal. Lyra's voice cracked with disbelief. You burned my name from the records, branded me traitor, sent assassins, and now, a deal? Sarian stepped even closer. Return to the crown. Kneel, swear loyalty once more. I will erase your shame. You will live in comfort. You'll have your life back. Lyra laughed bitterly. And Kale? Dead, the Queen said, like it meant nothing, as he should be. Lyra trembled. Sarian continued, but this new one, John, he's still alive. I can offer him sanctuary too. A place at court. You don't have to lose another one. Lyra looked up, tears in her eyes. You never understood love. That's why you rule with fear. Sarian's smile faded. I gave you a choice. Lyra stepped back. I already made mine. Suddenly the Queen's voice turned to ice. Then so have I. She raised a single hand. The guards lifted their rifles. John fired first. Boom. A guard dropped. Then chaos. Lyra dove, rolling toward cover. Blasts flew over her head. John sprinted down the slope, firing from behind trees, covering her as she moved. But the Queen did not move. She stood tall in the middle of it all, untouched, unfazed. Then she spoke again. Enough, and everything stopped. Not from fear, but from force. A pulse of psychic energy rippled outward. Trees shook. The ground cracked. John fell to one knee. Blood ran from his nose. Lyra clutched her head, screaming. Sarian walked forward, towering over her daughter. You want to die for your feelings for some human? She raised a blade, and just as it came down, John blocked it. His pulse rifle gone. His arm bleeding. But his body between them. Sarian stared at him. John's voice was low, but steady. If you want her, you'll have to kill me first. The Queen's blade hovered inches from John's chest. Not a sound. Not a breath. Lyra lay frozen behind him, one arm shielding her face. Eyes wide with horror. John didn't move. He stood tall, chest rising and falling, blood dripping from his side. His voice, quiet but firm, cut through the cold air. You're not scaring me. Queen Sarian's face didn't twitch. No anger. No shock. Just cold calculation. Why do you protect her? She asked. You barely know her. John's eyes didn't leave hers. I know enough. And for that, the Queen said, raising her blade, you'll die like the other one did. The words hit Lyra like a knife to the chest. Kale. John stepped forward. I'm not Kale, he said. But I'll make sure you remember this moment. Because this time, your daughter isn't running. This time, she's not alone. Sarian's eyes narrowed. Her hand clenched the blade tighter. But then a second shimmer filled the trees. Another ship uncloaked, sleek, gray, marked with an ancient crest, the symbol of the Outer Alliance. A voice boomed through the valley. Queen Sarian, stand down. Your actions violate 3 galactic accords. The Queen turned fast, eyes flashing. Who dares? The new ship's doors opened, and an alien figure in diplomat robes stepped out. Behind them, Kale. Alive. Scarred, a little older, but unmistakably him. Lyra gasped. John turned, confused. That's him? She nodded slowly, tears forming. He's alive. Kale rushed forward. Lyra stood, legs weak, heart racing. They met halfway. She threw her arms around him, burying her face in his chest. He held her tightly. I looked for you everywhere, she whispered. I never stopped trying to reach you, he said. Behind them, Queen Sarian stepped back, her expression finally breaking. Just a crack. How? The diplomat spoke calmly. He survived, and he testified, against you. More ships appeared in the sky. Lyra turned to face her mother. It's over, she said. Voice soft but certain. The queen stared at her daughter. For a moment, it looked like she might attack again. But the guards beside her dropped their weapons. She stood alone. No army. No power. Just a bitter defeated queen, and then she turned and disappeared back into her ship without another word. As it lifted into the sky, Lyra finally let out the breath she'd held for 10 years. That night, they returned to the cave. Kale stayed in the outer camp with the Alliance team, giving her space. Inside, John sat by the fire. Quiet. Lyra came in and knelt beside him. She's gone, she said. He nodded. She leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. I never thought I'd feel peace again, she whispered. John stared into the fire. You're free now. She looked at him. What about you? He didn't answer. So she asked again. John, what do you want? His jaw tightened. I don't know how to live after war. You just did, she sobbed gently. You fought and saved someone. That's a start. He looked at her. Really looked. You're staying with him? Lyra smiled sadly. Kale and I, we loved who we used to be, but I'm not that girl anymore. John raised an eyebrow. She reached for his hand, squeezed it. You showed me warmth when I had nothing. You didn't just protect me, you believed in me. He didn't pull away. She leaned closer. And if you want to disappear again, I won't stop you. Silence. Then John finally spoke. I don't want to disappear. Lyra's voice was soft. Then stay. Build something, with me. The snow outside was falling again, but this time it felt different. Not a storm, just peace. John and Lyra sat beside the fire. Two people no longer running from who they were, just quietly existing. Alive. Together. And for the first time in 10 years, she didn't have to beg for warmth. She was home,